And Sunday morning, 1973. The neighborhood is quiet except for the faint tick of cooling engines and the distant bark of a lawn mower starting up somewhere down the block. And you pull open the long, heavy door of your car, and it doesn't chirp or flash or unlock itself for you. It simply opens with a deep mechanical thunk, and like a bank vault acknowledging your presence. The seat doesn't hug you or adjust itself with electric motors. It waits. You settle in, turn the key, and the car answers back with a sound that feels alive. Not processed. Not filtered. Just metal fuel and motion agreeing to work together. Back then, a car didn't feel like an appliance. It felt like a companion that expected something from you. Attention, understanding, respect, and in return, it gave you features that weren't just convenient, but meaningful. Over time, those features didn't break or fail. They were quietly erased, and not because they were bad ideas, but because they didn't fit the future we thought we wanted. What we lost wasn't just hardware. It was a way of interacting with the road, and the speedometer used to be a promise, not a suggestion. A long horizontal strip of numbers stretched across the dashboard like a runway, and with a thin needle gliding smoothly from left to right. You didn't glance at it. You read it. You felt your speed by how far that needle had traveled, and by how close it was getting to the edge. It was intuitive and calm, not a flickering digital readout changing numbers 10 times a second. And today's displays tell you your speed. Those old gauges let you sense it, the way a pilot reads altitude without thinking. Then there were the doors themselves, and frameless windows, solid steel frames, hinges that felt like they were borrowed from industrial machinery. When you shut the door, it didn't echo hollowly, and it sealed the world out. That sound was reassurance. It told you the car was substantial, that you were enclosed by something built to endure time, weather, and miles. And modern doors close softly, politely, like they're afraid of offending you. The old ones closed with confidence. The cigarette lighter wasn't an accessory, and it was a power source before we called it that. Push it in and wait. A few seconds later it popped out glowing orange, ready to light a cigarette, warm cold fingers, or ignite a rolled-up map corner on a freezing night. It was heat on demand, a tiny furnace embedded in the dash. Today we have ports and chargers and adapters, but none of them carry that sense of raw utility. Nothing modern glows to life with that quiet authority. Ventilation used to be clever instead of complex, and fresh air didn't arrive through menace or touchscreens. It came through cables, sliders, and levers that physically opened paths to the outside world. And you could hear the air change when you adjusted them. You could smell rain before you saw it. Modern climate systems isolate you, and old ones connected you to what you were driving through. The steering wheel itself was a piece of furniture. Thin, wide, and often wrapped in real materials that age with your hands. You could drive with one finger resting on the rim, and feeling every texture of the road feedback through the column. Power steering today erases that conversation. It's smooth, effortless, and numb. And those older wheels talked constantly, telling you when the pavement changed, when the tires were working, when you were asking too much. Trunks used to be honest spaces, and you opened them and saw steel, carpet, and room. Real room, enough space for luggage, tools, groceries, and a sense that the car was ready for whatever you asked of it, and no molded plastic walls hiding fragility. No compartments designed to discourage you from carrying anything substantial. Just volume and possibility, and the radio was a ritual. Turning it on meant waiting a moment as tubes warmed up, a faint hum filling the cabin before music arrived. You didn't scroll endlessly. You tuned, and you searched. When you found a station, you stayed with it, even through static and fade-outs, because it felt earned. Music wasn't background noise, and it was part of the drive. Even the mirrors had personality. Chrome housings perched on the fenders or doors, reflecting the world with clarity and simplicity, and no blind spot warnings, no icons lighting up to tell you what your eyes already knew. You adjusted them once and trusted yourself, and the car assumed you were paying attention. There was a confidence built into these machines, a belief that the driver was capable, curious, and engaged, and cars weren't trying to protect you from yourself. They were inviting you to participate, to listen, to feel, to learn. As the years passed, those assumptions changed, and cars became quieter, smoother, safer, and undeniably better in measurable ways. But somewhere along the road, they stopped asking anything of us, and they stopped teaching us how they worked. And when that happened, something subtle disappeared. Because when a machine no longer needs your involvement, and it also stops offering you satisfaction, driving becomes transportation, not experience. motion without memory, and this was only the beginning. And think about the way headlights used to carve through the night. Warm, yellow beams spilling out onto the pavement and reflecting off road signs and chrome bumpers like firelight. You could tell how fast you were going by how quickly the darkness rushed toward you. And there was no sharp cutoff line, no sterile white glare. Just a soft, honest glow that made night driving feel intimate instead of clinical. You didn't outshine the road, and you negotiated with it. Windshield wipers once moved with a deliberate, almost human rhythm. Not the perfectly timed, computer-controlled sweeps of today, but mechanical arms driven by vacuum or simple motors that sped up and slowed down with the engine. When you climbed a hill, they hesitated. When you accelerated, and they danced. They reminded you that everything in the car was connected, that speed and effort had consequences, and even the rain felt different when you could sense the machine working. The hood stretched out in front of you like a horizon. Long, flat, unapologetic, and you knew exactly where the car began and ended. Parking wasn't assisted by cameras or warning tones. It was learned through repetition and awareness. You felt the distance, and you judged space by instinct. Every successful parallel park was a quiet victory that belonged entirely to you, and turn signals clicked loudly enough to be heard over the engine and the radio. That sound wasn't an afterthought. It was feedback. It told you the signal was on, and if you forgot to cancel it, it reminded you until you did. Today's soft digital ticks fade into the background, easy to ignore. The old ones insisted on being noticed, and like the car nudging you to stay present. Seatbelts didn't slide back automatically or retract with perfect tension. You pulled them across your chest, felt the fabric, and heard the latch lock home with a solid click. It was a conscious act. Buckling in wasn't passive. It was a decision you made every time, and reinforcing that driving carried responsibility. Under the hood, things were visible. Belts, pulleys, hoses, metal, and you could trace how power flowed from the engine to the wheels with your eyes alone. Even if you didn't know how to fix everything, and you could understand what you were looking at. There was no massive plastic cover hiding the truth. The car didn't pretend to be something it wasn't, and fuel gauges moved slowly, deliberately, giving you time to plan. When they dipped toward empty, it felt like a warning, not a panic, and you knew roughly how far you could go because you'd learned your car's habits. Range wasn't calculated for you. It was remembered. Keys wore down over time, and their teeth smoothed by thousands of starts. Each scratch and groove told a story. You didn't replace them every few years. You carried them for decades, and losing a key felt personal because it was. Today, keys are sealed electronics, identical and disposable, devoid of history. Cars once smelled like materials, not chemistry, and vinyl, leather, gasoline, warm oil, dust. Scents that marked seasons and journeys. You could tell when something was wrong by smell alone. And now interiors are designed to be odorless, neutral, forgettable. Nothing lingers long enough to become memory. And maybe that's the real loss. Not any single feature, but the accumulation of small interactions that made driving a skill instead of a service. A relationship instead of a transaction. You weren't insulated from the machine, and you were part of it. Modern cars are remarkable achievements. They protect us, guide us, and correct our mistakes. But they also remove the need to pay attention, to learn, and to feel. They do so much for us that they ask almost nothing in return. Those older cars asked for involvement. They demanded respect. And when you gave it, they rewarded you with a sense of mastery that no touchscreen or driver assist system can replicate. So when people say they don't make them like they used to, they're not talking about horsepower or steel thickness. They're talking about intention. About a time when machines were built to be understood, and not hidden behind layers of software and plastic. The road hasn't changed. It still stretches forward mile after mile, waiting to be driven, and what's changed is how much of ourselves we bring along for the ride. If this stirred a memory, a sound, a smell, or a feeling you haven't thought about in years, share it. And because these stories don't live in museums, they live in the people who remember what it felt like to drive something that asked you to be present. And as long as we keep remembering, that connection isn't completely gone.